now. So
Which that sounds sexier, deeper voice, or
let's go with that. Yeah.
feel my optimism a little bit. Just it's the one thing I can't stand, like listening to my own recordings because I hate the sound of my own voice.
Well, there's no way around that.
There's no way.
That's
So yeah,
technology. Do it like Sure and have auto tune.
you what take it on stage like an auto tune mic.
Yeah, what would Kanye do?
I don't know. I don't sort of live my life by Kanye's morals.
Probably for the best.
Yeah. So, hello, welcome to another episode of Sit Down and Stand Up. I have with me Gordon Southern. I would say a London comedian, but I was calling him just before Mr. Worldwide because you've been all over the place.
Yeah, well, I first got invited to Australia way back in 2005, I think it was, and I
Okay.
and I married an Australian, and we went to Australia for the festivals for years and years and years, and then we went our separate ways. But in 2000, when COVID hit, I was in Australia, and I was kind of given the option to be stranded there, and I took it. So I was stuck there for the best part of well, I couldn't leave for 2 years. So I just made a real go of making myself an Australian comedian.
Okay. And well, I was quite the same with I was living in Gibraltar and I came back on March the 15th for my mum's 60th. Week later, we went into lockdown. So I was sort of stuck in the UK,
Rock,
literally. So did
right?
would you say did the comedy world was it quite transferable what you did?
Yes and no. I mean, there's certainly there's you can go there as a British comedian, and there's so many Brits there that you can do British comedy for British people as a sort of expat event. For example, Kevin Bridges, I think, could fill the Sydney Opera House with the diaspora of Scots who are in and around Sydney. But I tried to kind of assimilate, as well as being an Englishman abroad and having that fish out of water thing is a really nice way of fashioning your comedy shows
Hmm.
to start with. Now I can't get away with it because they know that I've been there for years.
I saw your bit about going on to watch the TV and it was all AFL.
Oh yes,
Have you played it yourself?
I know. Well, no, I have actually. I played in a charity game years ago, celebrities versus actual players. And would you believe, in a game that athletic, we got absolutely destroyed.
I played Aussie rules once in school, and I think I could have played it for about 5 years, and I still wouldn't have learned the rules.
Well, there's not that many rules, but it's just a lot of running about.
Mm.
And you're playing on a cricket oval, so it's huge.
I mean, I've done rugby for 4 years and American football for 4 years at a professional level.
Football, where did you play?
Which one?
Where did you play your American football?
I played for Brighton Tsunami and then Sussex Thunders.
They've got stupid names of teams, isn't it? So I'll see your silly names and I raise you. Chelmsford Cherokee,
Yeah.
Essex Buccaneers, Warwick Wolves
Okay.
at
Uh,
uni.
what was it Maidstone? What do they call it? Maidstone Squadron or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to stop where it came to the point where I was good, but I I remember like I once took a shower. I thought I was in there for 10 minutes, but I was in there for 3 hours, and like the concussions just weren't.
See, right. I go.
It's one of them podcasts, yeah.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing comedy for?
Well, I kind of started doing it at uni. I did sketch comedy with my mates at university back in the early 90s, but I went full time in 90, I think 97.
Okay. And so how has the comedy world changed since then?
Oh, I'd love to say not a bit. That would be really fun, wouldn't it? Absolutely nothing has changed.
Yeah.
The haven't really changed.
Yeah.
He's still getting paid roughly the same to do a show. Um, Obviously, a lot of it's moved online now, and you find that the really sort of rapidly rising comedy stars aren't doing it live; they're doing it digitally on platforms such as YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, etc. Whereas when I started out, the gatekeepers of television and radio were far more powerful because you had to go through them to get any kind of exposure beyond live.
Okay. But one thing I have sort of spoken to a lot of comedians is that they do it online and then they think them skills are easily transferable to the stage. and they learn the hard way. Some do really well, and some, they'll fall on their ass for 20 minutes because as they've got the following, they'll automatically get, say, like a closer spot. But then they realise quite quick, different game.
Well, it's a different experience. I was chatting to a mate about this, and people who go and see a YouTube or TikTok comedian don't have the same expectations. They're probably not going to laugh out loud much because they're not used to engaging as a live audience. So not only are the comedians not very well versed in how it works, neither are the audience. They're used to watching it on a little rectangle on the bus on the way to work, and their attention span has been somewhat compromised by that.
Well, that's why I said to you off recording. I find like I already know you're a storytelling comedian. I'm a storytelling comedian, and I think it is one of the truest art forms of comedy because people's attention spans are so diluted now that if you can hold them for a long period of time, that is a true art.
Yeah, and well, doing one-liners is also a true art. The trouble with storytelling is it doesn't transfer that easily to a TikTok or an Instagram reel, because if you've got a longer form narrative, and I think you underestimate audiences. Maybe they can get on board with long stories. You need to let them know that's what's going to happen.
Okay, and yeah, if you sort of started comedy now, for the first time, how would you go about doing it? Would you do the same things you did back then, or do you reckon you'd have to completely change the process?
It would have to be very different because when I started out, getting a series on Radio 4 was the holy grail for me and my mates. Whereas now, a series on Radio 4 is like a successful podcast that they persuaded to come onto the airwaves. So it's all topsy turvy.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, personally, I think, yeah, radio, video killed the radio star, and I think online has killed the TV star now.
It's not killed it, but it's made different ones and people with different sets of skills. I think a lot of the best comedy online is not because the people are greatly talented comedians, but they're really good at video editing and see where the joke is and where the cut needs to be. And that doesn't translate to live as well.
Of course, because then they could do that bit 50 times before they make it right. On when you're
Yeah,
on stand up, you only get it the one time.
you do.
So very different skills. And do you know what, like I said, like we said, comedy is comedy, and if they are good at it, all the best to them. But I know Alistair Barry said it to me best. The best of the best comedians are the ones, not say the most famous, but the ones who go week in, week out onto the circuit where no one knows their name and they make them laugh.
I suppose so, because when you know someone and there's an expectation of their celebrity or their reality TV presence or how they host a comedy quiz on TV, all of that kind of taints the experience. But yeah, turning up there and going, hello, I am AN comedian, and the next 25 minutes it's just you and me. That takes a different set of skills. I think Alistair's got a really good point there.
So would you say, like with how London is, I sound right or negative on this pod. How London is, and sort of like, would you say, I know you've done all across the country as well, comedy hits differently in different locations?
I think London's a bit of a metropolitan bubble in a lot of ways, and we speaking as someone who lives in London, we think we're the best. But then you'll go to Liverpool or Manchester, and they have exactly the same idea, and they are also correct.
I would challenge that. Being from London, I think I'm not I'm being a bit unloyal to my own here. I think Northern comedy is where it's at right now. I think Manchester Hot Water, Liverpool Hot Water, they are killing it right now.
Oh,
And I think
certainly a lot healthier. I thought you were talking about how audiences and comedians interact and how audiences perceive themselves.
so about like the comedian, more like the free reign to speak freely.
I suppose that's everywhere. It's interesting as well. Like a lot of younger comedy punters, I find, are not as easily offended. So there's older who, you can't say anything anymore. Then I think my generation, I'm early 50s, and I'm kind of quite sensitively trying to navigate what I think is a progressive and woke world. And then you've got really young kids for whom nothing is too dark. So I think it's a generational thing.
Okay, so cyclical almost. So because I do a bit that I've just stuck into my routine, and I don't do any like Muslim or black bit, but my setup is my setup is before I'm gonna look around the room quickly before I do this inappropriate joke about black people and Muslims. I'm not looking for them. I'm looking for middle-aged women in their 30s to get offended on their behalf.
I think, yeah, that's a bit of a cliche, but that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't actually do the joke, but like to sort of hit down. So going you're going for a long time here. What joke have you got? Any sort of jokes where you look back on where you think they were brilliant at the time,
Oh,
and
good.
you look back and you think, why the hell did I write that? Why did I think that was funny?
I've been thinking a lot about this because when I started out, it was, and the Oasis reunion has really brought this sort of screaming back into my consciousness, is that I started out and it was magazines like Loaded and Deadpan and Maxim. Um, I was working on a show called Fantasy Football, so I was really sort of plugged in to the Three Lions, Lads, 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 Drink Heavily, Vindaloo. I did a TV show where we did sketches about Blur versus Oasis. And that binge drinking, hedonistic lifestyle, which has kind of followed me into middle age. I see young kids in the audience and they're like, yeah, we don't really drink, mate. And we might do edibles, but you old people, you drink too much and you bought all the houses and we hate you. So, yeah, I've even forgotten what the question was now. There are jokes that I used to do celebrating binge drinking, which I now feel are not relevant, and celebrating that sort of irresponsible lifestyle choices, which I now think are not relevant. So, yeah, there's lots of jokes that I used to do that I now look back on them and go, oh, and also use of language. I had a very simple, and it was just a play on words, but it was leotard, a stupid lion. Not in,
I hate one-liners, but
not
they are my guilty pleasure.
That's not even on the bench. That isn't even got that. The tracksuit has rusted shut on that one. That joke is never coming back.
As I said, but they're my guilty pleasure. I get annoyed then after I've laughed at them. It's like I shouldn't have found that funny, but it is.
It's just a silly bit of wordplay. But now you're going, actually, that's quite offensive. I shall not use that language again. So I've been very conscious of that shift. But now I'm seeing younger comics, and they're going, yeah, fuck that. We'll say what
But
we.
like I said, when you go back to like the drinking thing, um, I don't do drugs. I do drink like a fish though. But I feel like with young people, they seem to brag about how many drugs they do. Then we must have done the same talking about drink. Oh, I had 10 pints last night. I
Oh,
had 12 pints last night. Or
and all those jokes from the old days, like, oh, after that ninth pint of beer, I had a dodgy packet of peanuts, and that's why I can't come into work. And all
yeah. Pardon?
And I used to have a joke about. I'd used it quite recently, actually, because I was in a room full of people my age. But it was, do you know what the medical definition of a binge is? Because I thought it was a hairy bin, but it's actually 4 pints of beer. Just by a show of hands, who in the last month had a binge and then went out drinking? And when I was doing, gigs in
Yes.
the whole audience are like, yeah, we preloaded like you wouldn't believe. Because that used to be a big thing, preloading. I don't think it is so much now. I found out in New Zealand, because drinks are very expensive there in nightclubs, side loading. Do you know what that is?
You put a drink on the sides of the club, you go around and drink it.
Pretty much. Or you put it in your car because it's New Zealand, so they'll drive home.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, not the driving bit. I did a gig last night, and I've got it. I did sort of like my JD to sort of like get me going before because of the
Right?
London prices. Uh,
I've seen comics turn up with the worst one is when they've got a carrier bag full of beer and they wander into the dressing room and you go in, are you an act or are you about to ask me if I can spare any change?
but so, what advice would you give to like a new comedian who was just starting out? They're a little bit nervous, not too sure. What advice would you give them?
I really don't know anymore. Don't punch down.
Yeah.
Make your jokes have a target that you're happy to make a target, and that you would be happy with being targeted yourself. Try and remain confident because that's the main thing. Is don't look like you're nervous. Oh, you know what? I taught comedy at Adelaide University a couple of years ago, and I've forgotten everything about it. But because of the lockdowns, I had to do whatever jobs were going.
Yeah.
And the university said, "Would you like to teach comedy?" And I loved it, but I can't remember anything that I told them. I mean, I know how a joke works, so I can fix jokes as a mechanic might. But yeah, maintain eye contact, look around the whole room, put the microphone behind you once you've said hello, all the basics.
Right, so I've got Adam Bloom coming in on a Monday.
Oh, he's great. Ask him. He's very good. He's written that book, hasn't he?
I had to bloody buy it.
There we go. Have you read?
Yeah. Can't fluff the ego enough, could I?
I'm going to get a copy of that because I've one of my first ever tours was 45 dates around the north of England and Scotland, and it was freezing cold. And it was me, Adam Bloom, and Julian Barrett,
Oh, okay.
the Boosh, and it was just
Yeah.
it was grueling. But you look back on it and you go, "Goodness me, what a great tour!" Not at the time. We're in a Julian's Fiesta that kept breaking down. It was always sideways, sleety rain because it was the autumn in Scotland. But yeah, it was the Comedy Network for Avalon and did 45 dates in about 2.5 months. So working pretty much every night.
Have you got any good stories from being on tour? You've
And,
been on two heavy hitters,
and
really.
oh my goodness. I'm just pick a country, mate, and I'll tell you I've got a story about it.
All right, we'll start with Scotland first.
Scotland, well, doing that 45-day tour with Julian and Adam was great. I mean, Adam was very intense. It was even more intense back then because he was a younger man. But Paisley University sticks out because we turned up and it was in the middle of a housing estate. And we turn up at this, it's like a demountable, like a temporary classroom. And there's an old Scottish guy. We go, "Hello, I'm not sure if we're in the right place. We're looking for the Paisley University Off-Site Student Union." And he's sort of in the whistly Scottish accent. "Oh, yes, yes, this is it. It's the one, it's over here. It looks like a Pizza Hut." And it did. It looked like a Pizza Hut. And we had very low expectations, but they're usually the best ones. So it was a tiny little hut in the middle of nowhere. I felt sorry for the Paisley University students. I can see why they have, I think, the highest quota of heroin addicts amongst their. This was back in the 90s. But we had we had to go to Wales to, what's that? Aberystwyth. And it was a uni gig. This was
Yes.
Julian and another guy called Dan Friedman. And they said, "Right, lads, we're doing the comedy, but everyone's here for, there's a boxing match at 5 a.m. So just keep going as long as you can." So then it became not a comedy show, but an endurance event.
But all of a sudden.
They encored all of us. They didn't want to, but they killed some time.
Okay, let's go America.
America, I've only worked a couple of times in America, unless you are from TSA, in which case I've never worked in America. The ETSA, is it the ETSA or the ETSA? I didn't work in America, but had I, it would have been in Sarasota, Florida. And a good friend of mine from years ago, Tom Rhodes, and I was on holiday and I rang him up and said, "Tom, you're headlining at this club. Can I come and support you?" And he said, "Yeah, all right then, that'll be all right." And I turned up. It was a Sunday afternoon in a Floridian town that was, the average age was about 60. So it was like a little retirement village. But the most fun that I had was at the end of the set when I explained why I was there. I said, "Listen, I just wanted to let you know that Tom, your headliner," I got in touch with him. I said, "I'm Gordon. We used to work at the Jongleurs circuit back in the 90s when you lived here. I'd love to come and support you." And I said to the audience, and Tom's reply was, "Absolutely not." To which I said, "Okay, Tom, well, I've got these Polaroid photos." To which Tom replied, "Early show or late show." So that was the highlight of the gig for me and the audience, unfortunately, was that little detour.
Okay, are we done China?
I've done China. Holy shit. Supporting Milton Jones.
Okay, cool.
And it was mad because it was supposed to be for the expats, but a Chinese family came along, I think, to brush up on their English language skills. And they had this adorable, maybe a 5-year-old boy. And the 5-year-old boy comes to the front of the gig and he's leaning on the little fence between the audience and the comedians. And every time we stopped talking, he'd laugh his head off because he thought that's what he needed to do.
Oh, so he just learned on cue when to laugh.
He had no idea what we were saying, but He wanted.
You brought him to every gig now, haven't you? Just in
Yeah,
case.
I smuggled him back.
But okay, we know we do Australia
He'll
a lot, so let's do Australia.
up quite soon. He's 25 now.
Oh, showing the age a bit. I mean, I was born in '91, so I won't comment on that. So I got Australia highlight.
Oh, so many. I mean, I got invited there to do a show called Best of the Edinburgh Fest or Best of British, and I met
Right.
my ex-wife, and so I kept coming back. I've done, I think, 20 odd festivals out there, Melbourne and Adelaide, Perth, a couple of Sydneys, some New Zealands as well. I know New Zealand isn't in Australia, but you kind of do them as a little circuit. They're all one after the other.
Lazier.
Well, that's very considerate of them, I think. They're all in a row from January through to May.
Okay,
They're
so
every festival you can.
okay. With I'm not going to go too much into money, so I'll just ask the one question. You know that all the comedians I've met from the '90s, they've said, yeah, it's weird how inflation, interest rates have you all changed, but the wage income, comedy payment hasn't changed. Is that just in this country, or is it universal?
Do you know what? I don't really know. I'd say that there's a lot of comedy clubs, like circuit clubs in Australia, that aren't really worth doing unless they're not worth doing unless they fly you in.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that there's not been much wage inflation in Australia either in certainly the last 15 years that I've been doing clubs there.
Okay. Well, and so yeah, we've done the highlights here. Um, what's been your worst moment on stage? What time have you bombed the hardest?
I can tell you, there's a place in Australia called Penrith, which is, I suppose, it's in the suburbs of Sydney. So imagine Croydon, but up in the hills and a bit smaller.
Brilliant. Cool. Yeah.
And I remember the gig most keenly because I was about to get married. So my parents were out visiting me for the first time. And I said, hey, come and see this gig. And it was a 50-minute drive out of Sydney. So we left behind the Harbour Bridge, the Opera House, all of the iconic landmarks, and ended up in an RSL, which means Retired Servicemen's League, if you will, a veterans or working men's club.
Yeah.
And the audience was about 10, and it's like a centrifuge had whipped them to the far end of the room. So they're all at the bar, didn't want to get involved. And I watched the compere die. I watched the first few acts die. But there's something weird in the ego of a comedian where you say to yourself, "Don't worry, I'll turn this around."
Yeah.
And of course, I start dying as well. It's awful. But in the last 4 or 5 minutes of my set, the audience peeled themselves away from the bar and started moving towards me. And I thought, this is it. I've won them over. This is fantastic. So I wrapped up the show and I went, I'm glad you finally got on board. My mum and dad are here. Thanks very much. And then as I walked off stage, I realised they were getting closer to the stage so that when I finished, they were nearer to the pool table and could put their money in first. So that would be up there.
All right.
And there's another one in Australia, Goulburn, which is a country town famous for orange juice and having a big prison.
Brilliant.
And they kind of put us on nestled between the fruit machines, the pokey or gambling machines. So it's like doing a gig inside a Ladbrokes
Okay.
or a Mecca. And yeah, there was only a few of them. We went upstairs to the big theatre, and there was a couple of women knitting, going, "No, you're downstairs in the bar. It's knitting tonight. Go fuck off."
I never understood that. Like in like the local social club around mine, they do Friday and Saturday night bingo.
Yep.
So you can't talk. What's but do not
No,
get between an
bingo.
old lady and
I
her
mean,
bingo.
bingo's even more popular in Australia. They love gambling. Outside of racism, that's their favourite sport. But that was the death of a thousand cuts because they wouldn't turn off the gambling machines because they said, "Nah, people might want to gamble, so we'll leave them on." So we're dancing in front of television screens, and this old Aussie guy who was half asleep, he was drunk, and he goes, "Are you guys Poms? Are you English?" It's like, "Yes, this show is called Best of British." And he went, "Oh, you'll all be dickheads then." And all of his mates just picked him up and took him outside to the car park and went, "We can't have this guy here."
I know English people swear, but I feel like Australia it is part of their monologue.
It's almost part of their respiration.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But they say it with such conviction and passion that you don't almost mind.
It is. It was an eye opener. I'm used to it now, but yeah, Australians do swear, and people you wouldn't expect to swear, like little old ladies, vicars, children. I was Father Christmas. One of my COVID jobs was to be Father Christmas, and
Right.
the kids didn't swear much because they were really little kids, but the parents would swear in front of Santa, which I think is it's just not cricket, is it?
No, I agree. I don't find it cute when kids swear. You got like a 3-year-old on, like they record him saying "fuck" or something. I don't find that cute. It's not my
Two
bag.
million YouTube hits can't be wrong.
Oh, it can be. It
Yeah.
can be. Who I can't remember who said it to me. They did the quote recently from Peep Show. You can't trust the general public. They voted for the Nazis and listened to Coldplay.
Yeah. I wouldn't put them on a par as crimes, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah. No, swearing's much worse. God, but no, it's so. Yeah, you played all over. Where's one place you would want to play?
I would like to do. Okay, so I've done a little tour in Canada, but it was so regional. So I'd like to do Vancouver, Montreal, Quebec. I'd like to do the big cities in Canada because I think they'd like me.
Yeah.
And I think it's only fair because in the 90s, Canada sent so many comics over to the UK. I feel as though there should be some cultural exchange.
I,
I'd love
I,
to
I,
do, I mean, just for last Montreal, I'd love to do that festival.
I've got one coming on. Craig Campbell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was everywhere. Like jongleurs, yum, 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 munch,
yeah.
munch, munch.
I've said to him, I can't wait to have you on because I want to see you sit down and not move for an hour.
There's no guarantee he won't have a little headset and take you on a hike that involves lifting logs. And
Okay.
I'd love to do like just some of the iconic rooms in New York, Carolines, and
Yeah.
the is it the Laugh Lounge in California? What's it called? There's famous American iconic clubs in LA and New York would be
Well,
fun.
I'm currently binge watching all the Kill Tonys.
So where are they? They're in. Is it San
Aus-
Antonio?
Austin,
Austin, Texas. I knew it was
Texas.
Texas. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's very, I mean, I don't particularly find him that funny, but I love watching amateur comedy at its
It
rawest.
is okay. Not on my radar, I'm afraid.
Yeah, they get 1 minute each and then they just get roasted for about 10 minutes.
Oh,
But
that's
I like seeing different types of humor. So I was like, go back to, you've done all these different places. Do you have to change your setup for each different places, or is it like universal bits where you change, say, football to soccer?
I like to make sure that I'm using the correct language so that I'm
Yeah.
understood. And I really enjoy the challenge of turning up in a new country or a new city and finding something that no one else has found. That's really satisfying when you can make an observation and people go, "Oh, that's not what." Because like a lot of English comics, I don't want to name any names because so many people have done it, but they turn up in Australia and they'll talk about the weather, they'll talk about spiders and crocodiles and snakes and
Yeah.
koalas, and I'll go, "Oh, great! You're definitely the first person who's thought of
Yeah.
this."
Used to be a criminal. Oh, what did your ancestors do?
A bit, yeah, all of those, and it's very much low hanging fruit. So I try and
Yeah.
find something that no one else has found. That's really satisfying when you can do that.
Okay. But could you only do that from experience or actually, going out and seeing the sights?
Well, going out and seeing the sites, I watch the local television, I read the local newspapers, I try and get a taste of what people are interested in and what they're not interested in any given city. And it's tricky because traditional print and broadcast media, very few people consume it now. I feel like an old person because I'm watching terrestrial television. And I have had someone your age go, "What does terrestrial mean?"
Mm.
And
That-
that blew my mind. Like, you don't know what it means. It means proper telly that's broadcast live. And he went, "Oh, old person telly." Yeah, same.
I get most of mine. What's it called? Is it Al Jazeera? Like
Al
it's like
Jazeera.
Al Jazeera.
Well, they do claim to be an independent news source, so that's not a bad place to start. This
Yeah.
is fun. I've worked on a few cruise ships around
I've
Australia.
always wanted to do a cruise ship. That's
Here's
like one of my like life bucket lists.
Give it a whirl. Here's an interesting thing: when you're on an American cruise ship, the news channels you get Fox News, which is extremely right wing,
Yeah.
and then MNABC, which is extremely left wing. And what I like to do is watch them one after the other and see if that will give me a balanced view of America. And it doesn't. It makes
Well,
me all nuts.
I swear to God, they gave me a great analogy of that with American newspapers, and it's Punch and Judy. They're both saying stuff. Which one do you agree with? Well, it's the same person with hands up both their asses.
Very much. But I mean,
Russell Brand, that was, believe it or not,
was
actually,
that
it was
Russell?
Russell Brand. Yes.
Where's he these days? So with
Oh.
the with
We're not going to one of the most ethical people, are we, on this?
with Fox News, there was this is an example of the caliber of viewer. Because it's rolling news, they've got to keep creating content, which is why Donald Trump is a gift to the 21st century, because he knows that he needs to keep creating content. But they had a phone in. Out of Fox television viewers, how many of you think you could safely land a passenger plane if you had to? And it was something ridiculous, like 1 in 4 Fox viewers went, yep. So 1 in 4, and I'm going to call them, rednecky kind of right wing American viewers, think with zero training they could land a passenger jet.
I mean,
25%. That's optimistic.
I'm trying to think now. What's the biggest vehicle I think I could safely
land from in the sky? I'm going to go motorbike. I'm thinking Evel Knievel, but fewer buses.
Even my car's automatic, so the fruit's quite low hanging on that one as well.
Do you think you could land a plane? I don't think I could land a plane.
No, I think I could parachute out of a plane.
That's not the question. You're
I know,
saving.
but okay, I would everyone on board. If my name was drawn out of the hat to save everyone, I'm handing out the prayer books.
I was going to say as well, do you think that the job of being an emergency pilot should be allocated as a lottery? I think that doesn't give you the best chance of survival. This is my thought.
Shouldn't be for Fox viewers either, should it?
Well, if it's a plane full of Fox viewers, maybe let it crash. But the stewardess must have a weird. Is there any pilots on the board? No. Are there any HGV license holders? No. What about
your way down?
Is anyone here an observational comedian? Fuck yeah.
Here we go.
Well, I'm more of a storyteller, but I'll give it a crack.
Oh, we were looking for one-liners, I'm afraid.
Oh, sit back down.
We'll come back to you. Well, they say single mother's the hardest job, so no, I won't even go into that. I won't even go into Bill Burr's.
Any single mums think they can fly this plane, or at least have an opinion about it? As a mother, speaking as a mother, I think you should land it like this.
Oh, sorry, you lost me a bit. Oh, it's just the ludicrousy. But I was like, but okay, so you've been all over the place. Would you say there is sort of like a type of comedy where each place prefers, or is it all still subjective to the individual?
I don't know, because I can only do certain things, and they do or don't work. So, mostly they've worked, but I'm not sure if there's a particular style that a nation would prefer. I know that self-deprecation in America gets you nowhere.
True.
So that kind of British, oh, sorry about that, I'm rubbish. Americans go, why? If you're rubbish, why are you doing comedy? I don't want to see rubbish. I want to see good.
It's like
that's very much a cultural thing. Aussies like a bit of self-depreciation, I think, because certainly older Australians grew up on BBC comedy, because the ABC would buy it by the yard back then.
Yeah.
And then your younger Australian comics are just really experimental and surreal.
Because one thing I've noticed, and it's made me quite proud a little bit for the British comedy scene, watching all this American comedy. What I watch every week. I think it's the Perth Gong Show.
Perth in Australia?
Yeah.
I'll be doing that in 3 weeks' time. Goodness me. Yeah, I'll be hosting it.
Oh, I watch that every single
From the Comics Lounge. Or the Comedy Lounge, sorry.
Comedy Lounge, just about. Yeah, Perth. It's always got the Chinese dude running it.
With Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny, the Scottish bloke.
Johnny's English.
He's Scottish.
Is he? Maybe it's a different one.
Comedy Lounge, Comedy
Comedy
Lounge Gong
Lounge
Show.
Perth.
I
Yeah.
know it's the yellow badge. Yeah, Comedy Lounge Gong Show. I watch it every single episode. I watch
Where do they broadcast it? I should
on
look out.
YouTube.
I'll look out for myself.
On YouTube, I mean, it's on there.
Comedy.
Every single one of them. But the point I was getting at, I'm staring at them now. Like with them, a lot of them, and it's the same within America. They always talk about, "Oh, I'm so stoned," or "I've done loads of drugs."
Yeah, well, that's young people, I suppose, and that's like. I used to think that getting stoned would make me more creative. I didn't realise that I would have been far more creative without smoking weed. But one of those things, because I never liked smoking weed, but I said to myself when I was about 18, I don't like this. I'll give it 10 years. 10 years later, I went, yeah, still not for me. That'll do.
We'll try a joke 3 times on the stage, but I'll try weed for 10 years.
Exactly.
Different
Just
events,
in
different rooms.
case.
But I was
Just
like,
in case I've just got the dosage wrong, or I'm not hanging out with the right people, I've got the wrong rolling paper.
yeah, never try microdosing with cocaine. It never works.
I can't imagine doing that.
But one thing I love about, like, I rarely see it in British comedy is people talking about drugs or, "Oh, I got so stoned before this set," and I'm quite proud of that in a way because I feel like
Yeah.
they give themselves a cop out, a setup for a cop out. "Oh, I was shit because I'm high."
I've got a theory about this.
So,
Weed has got so much stronger that if you are doing drugs, you're not going to make it to the comedy club. You're going to stay at home and you're going to get Deliveroo.
okay.
Yeah, there you go. Not funny, just this is when I decided I wasn't going to smoke weed anymore. When it started to get so strong that it would just kind of weld you to the sofa, and you go, "Well, this isn't helping my creativity."
I smoked throughout all of university, and I think I had about 25% attendance, and ended with a 2-2.
Yep. There you go.
And I solely blame it to, well, I solely blame myself, 100%. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was the dickhead who, woke up with the chip out still there. But no, I do commend British comedy about that. I thought it was interesting. Places are different. What's it like in China? Is there like, would
There was
self-deprecation
zero
work?
drugs in China, as far as I'm aware. I
Saudi
know that
Arabia then.
I know that they used to be very fond of opium.
No, I meant like, is there sort of like how do I say this without sounding very, because I don't know the words. I'm just going to say, is there like, oh, like, is it all like vocal comedy in China?
Well, I was
Oh, is
doing.
probably not the right bit. I'm
I
going to
was.
right drop with that, but like, what
I
I meant.
was supporting Milton Jones, who of course is an English one-liner
Yeah.
expert, and the audiences that we played to were primarily expats from the UK, Australia, and America. So I can't really make any comment on Chinese comedy whilst I was in China. I know that there's some brilliant Chinese comics over here, but I don't think any of them do the noise that you made.
I met this. I met this 2 weeks ago. I met this amazing Japanese comic, and he absolutely killed it. But the second he wasn't doing his comedy, he had the thickest Japanese accent. But
Who was that?
Oh, okay. I'll find his name. He was like 6'4", chiseled jaw, was like absolute ripped to shreds, and he had like this perfect American accent whilst doing his comedy.
Right. Okay.
Even though he's never been in America, I think he learned his English from watching American shows.
Right.
And the second he wasn't doing his comedy, his accent went so strong Japanese accent again.
Wow. Okay. So this was someone who you'd seen live, or that you saw on the.
I saw him 2 weeks ago. I was supporting a mate who was doing a comedy club in South Bank near Waterloo Station, and yeah, I was outside just smoking and started talking to him. I was like, "Oh, you on?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay," like chatting to him.
So his set was in an American accent. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I think that's how he learned his English.
So have you ever done comedy in a foreign language?
No, I did a bit in Spain and I died on my ass
But did you use any Spanish?
Very minimal.
Right.
Very minimal, because it was in a hotel, and I realised shortly after that only about 20% of them were English, about 30%, no, 20% were like French, 30% were German, and the rest are Spanish. So I was delivering it to an audience that I realised only 20% could actually understand me.
Well, you've just got to slow it down if you because they will speak English, but as a second, third, or fourth language. And this is where the English really fall down is that we don't speak a lot of languages.
And do you think we also use a lot of colloquial slang abroad?
Yes, almost we're almost perverted about how uh, how secretive we are with
Yeah.
our accents that are wildly different every 10 miles when you get up north,
Oh,
and our little phrases and you know we've got the most complicated language on earth is the English language.
have
I
you,
think we take perverse pleasure in that.
well, I did a stupid bullshit bit in Spain, and it was like when ordering a drink, you'll be like, "Can I have two Diet Coke, sex on the beach, Long Island iced tea, two pizzas, and a dessert? Gracias."
Yeah, well, it's good that you made an effort.
Do you know what I mean? They needed help with that bit, didn't they?
Yeah, and they're going, well, I don't really know anything that he just said, but I know that he's grateful.
He's grateful for me getting the order wrong. Okay, so yeah, okay. I always sort of end with this. We've done the bombing question. I love. So just advice to new comedians. What could you say to get them to go on stage and try it?
Well, I'd advise them not to unless they really have a burning desire. I feel as though a
Yeah,
lot of people will do comedy because they think it will be a laugh, whereas I feel as though a real comedian, they do it because they have to. So if someone's thinking, oh, I might give it a go, it could be a bit of fun, don't bother, mate. There's loads of people who have got far more mental health issues that they need to work through on stage. If you're perfectly content and happy, get in the audience and pay for us to get the free therapy from being the one person in a room full of people facing in one direction and we decide to face them. That's quite a mental thing to want to do.
cheap man's therapy.
Kind of. And like just 2 nights ago, I was doing a show, and in the middle bit, there was a lovely lady who walked on with some notes, and she said, "Oh, my name's Hazel. I'm about to turn 60, and my friends gave me a bucket list of things to do before I'm 60, and one of them is to do stand-up comedy, and this is why I'm here." And then she did some brilliant old jokes, and made them about her husband and about her turning 60. And because she had loads of mates in the audience, she absolutely killed.
Yeah,
And I'm sat at the back of the room going, this is really bad news for her because she's now got a taste of success doing stand up comedy
it's his
that she
ego.
will spend years trying to replicate and it will never be as good.
See, I was complete opposite. My first ever show was a comedy store, Gong Show.
So you had a bad
I
experience.
had a bad. I've told a story so many times on the pod. I emailed him at 5 o'clock, not knowing how the comedy booking world goes. I emailed him at 5 o'clock, be like, "Can I jump on tonight? I want to do 5 minutes." And they were like, "Oh, we've just had 3 people drop out tonight. Come along." And it was like, so I was like, "Oh god, this is easy to get a booking." Oh, one of the biggest clubs in the world, they want me already.
Yeah.
God, here I
The worst
come.
thing you can get is a taste of success early on because then you think that's what's going to happen every time.
But I went on second on the Gong Show. I lasted a minute 23, and it was all like, "Get the fuck off." The MC made a joke about my name saying Daniel Farr, not Daniel Farr. That got a bigger laugh than anything I did, and but I still wanted to do it again. That's how I got the taste.
Right. So I'm one of those comedians. My first ever gig was fantastic. So I went chasing that for years. Whereas clearly comedy is your kink.
Maybe,
you had a
maybe
really
I
hard
like,
time and you
yeah,
went, I want more punishment.
yeah, man, I like being demeaned. God, you made me sound like an insecure cuck a little bit there, Gordon.
Oh.
Yeah, I tell you what, cheaper therapy is doing a podcast. I'd have paid thousands for this fucking breakthrough.
And then you go, and we've got to wrap this up. Our hour's nearly up. No biscuit. No, I noticed there was no biscuits as well. Well,
I
that's
don't want
bound
to
to
see
be
what notes
required.
you've taken. You've been chewing your pen the whole bloody time.
Well, I've actually got a rail ticket that I've been doodling on, so no notes were taken.
No, no. Should have killed himself a year ago.
No,
Half a minute.
I've written down Daniel, which is your name, and Comedy Lounge on YouTube. So those are my takeaways.
I will send you the link.
Brilliant.
All right, Gordon, it's been absolutely brilliant. Cheers for coming on,
Thanks
brother.
for having me on, mate. Best of luck.
Appreciate it. Have a good one, dude.
Cheers.
Bye.